Darwinning. This is a card game about natural selection and about improving your species while eating species that are below yours on the food chain. Now, this is a card game that combines trick-taking with poker hands. So that's an interesting take. I was very, very interested in that. Each player will have a species represented by one of these mats. You have a nice variety here. You shuffle them and you give people different species randomly at the beginning of the game. They start with different already with different abilities there, and then there's slots to add more abilities. You have here a number of eggs that represent how many specimens you have in your population at the beginning of the game, and you will add more of these tokens as your population grows, and you remove them as you lose population. This is your adaptation for food. That means that if this environment is available at the end of a round, when we're checking if we can feed our animals, then I'll be able to produce 2 units of food. If a mountain is available, I'll be able to produce 2, and so on and so forth. And we'll see later how that works exactly. And you know what? I'll tell you later. I'll tell you now, actually. There is a line of cards that you place there from a deck of environment cards, and they represent the cards that are available for food production this round. So you know in advance that this round, this species will be able to benefit from that card. So you set up 5 environment cards at the beginning of round 1. There will only be shuffle, and set up 4 at the beginning of round 2, and only 3 at the beginning of round 3. So fewer sources of food as the game progresses. Nice, interesting idea there to represent pressure. And then here on the species, on the mat of the species, we have that number that indicates your starting place in the food chain. Now, the tokens that you place to indicate your position on the food chain are these ones. They form the word "we're done." That's a strange one. Also, Nardwid or Drivna. I don't know what they're meant to be. I know. Some of you are going to say, oh, I think it means... So, but you have to decide, which letter of the name Darwin you're going to be. And so that's kind of like weird. I wish there was a token that has that shape or color, a token that indicates a fish, a token that indicates an elephant. Otherwise, with multiple players, I'm looking at the board and I don't remember intuitively who is the D and who is the A. The D also is kind of like weird, like that. So there's a specific way. I mean, we have our tricks. This becomes an M, so that's Marco, and then we get Amelia, and then we get Luisa, because Luisa is rad. So we got our way of figuring it out. But so we're gonna have, say, for example, this species started from there, and this species from there, and we're gonna adjust our presence on the food chain as we go up. The general idea, unsurprisingly, is if you're higher on the chain, you can take a bite of the other species by giving them these tokens, and that will prevent you from losing animals when it is time to feed your animals. So we're gonna play for 3 rounds, and then we score points from a variety of things that will happen here that will be around our display, such as the number of animals that we had, the number of adaptations that we have. Different things will give us points. Our position on the food chain, that's just like pure points. Yeah. And so the player with the highest score wins the game. So again, we play 3 rounds. At the beginning of each round, each player gets a hand of 10 cards. So it's one big, nice hand. As we play the cards, all that matters is the number and the suit indicated up there. All of the other things that you see around here indicate the kind of advantages that you gain from the card if you get to attach it to your mat. Now that's really cool because that means that some cards can be attached on this side. So that gives me more environments that I can get food from. Only that part is visible. All right. It can give me an improvement on my position on the food chain, or it can give me an improvement, not in this case, on my population if that icon is showing. Or I can place it here, in which case I look at the central area and I get a new skill, new mutation. That's really cool that I can use the card for so many ways, but that also means that as you play the card, you want it to do something good for you with the suit and the number, but also you want the right advantage. So basically now I'm holding these cards this way because I'm checking here. Then I want to check, wait a second, which of these will give me extra population? Okay, that's great, but wait a second, what are they doing to... Which one? Oh man, I need to be higher on the food chain, so I need to check these things here. So the fact that the symbols of the advantage you get are scattered on the sides of the card looks cool, but it's kind of inconvenient as you're playing the game because you're constantly checking not just the values, which you can see at a glance, but the bonuses. Because again, you can win a trick, and then in that trick you don't have the card that you need for the advantage that you need, then there's no point in winning the trick. The idea is still, a player will start a trick, and different from other trick-taking games, you can play not just one but multiple cards. You have to play at least one, but you can choose to play multiple ones. And basically you're playing hands of poker. So after everybody plays a hand, so I play 2, Amelia plays 3 cards, Luisa plays 1, Mom plays 4. At the end, we simply evaluate the cards that everybody played. There's no need for following suits or anything. We simply evaluate using this scale here, and we see who won the trick. As simple as that. Then the player who won the trick, suppose that I won a trick. See, there's maybe I won a trick just like so, with a 14 and a 14, or an 11, there you go, 11 and 11. I want a trick with these cards. Then I choose one of the cards that I want to trick with, and I use it to add to my display. So for example, I could add it there, or I could add it here, or there, again, as I showed you. That's why the cards that you use to win the trick must include the card that you want to add to your display, or else who cares about winning the trick. Matter of fact, you don't think you're going to win a trick, you may just going to play a silly card that you're just going to rid of, and maybe you still get lucky. So, play trick in this other strange way in which one player will deplete their hand faster than the other. This is important because a round will be over when a player has no cards left. At that point, at the end of that trick, when that trick is scored, the round is over. However, plot twist, the last trick of a round, the one at the end of which a player is left with no cards, is scored differently. Is the opposite of the other tricks, which is the player who won the trick does not get to improve the species, everybody else gets to place a card from their trick to improve their species. So, this is basically the idea of how the round works. Then when the round is over, it's time to feed our animals. We need to show that we have enough animals to match our population represented by these tokens, and we do that again by showing matches between our icons, which may have been improved along the way, matches between our icons and the environment cards currently available. Also, if that's not enough, then we can look at the animals below us and chomp chomp chomp, we can produce food or find ourselves well fed by adding tokens that of course will reduce after a while the population of the opponent. So this is the general idea. Play for 3 rounds, score points based on different things that you find on your mat, and the player with the higher score wins the game. This is the idea of Darwinning. It seemed exciting to me as I read the rule book. As I started playing it, it turned out to be underwhelming. Unfortunately, my co-players and I, that are all my family members, we did not enjoy this game particularly. Problems: iconography, a lot of icons. There's only one player aid, so to speak, which is the page of the rulebook with the icons. You look at them all the time, and some are not that different. You have to look carefully to make sure you know which one is which. Another thing about the special effects, a lot of these will give you something. A lot of these other effects will take away the other effect. That's usually not something great in game design because we have loss aversion. It doesn't feel fun to have built to a certain situation. I got that thing, I won the trick with that card in it, booyah, 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 awesome. And then you play an effect that takes mine away. Whoa, I was able to protect myself from eating. Yeah, but now I can eat your kind of stuff. Now I did something else so you can't hit him. Yeah, but now I can hunt you in a different way, so that doesn't matter. A game design that makes the other person's decisions irrelevant usually just is not as engaging. It's something that most game design has embraced these days. Another thing is that there is too much randomness to me for the amount of decision that the game still asks you to make. It's a game that is almost tantalizing. It's almost telling me, hey, pay attention, create an awesome strategy, strategize, take all of these awesome things into account, the cards you have, the effects, what other people have played, get the right trick now with the right effect there so I can exploit that land. It tantalizes you with all of these potential awesome decisions to make that you may not be able to make at all. Because usually on average, when you get a hand of 10 cards, you will have one good hand. One good hand. And so yes, the decision is when are you going to play? And maybe that good hand that will score you a lot does not have the icons that you need or not as good. And the icons that you really want are on a card that will never ever ever score, and you even know that. The fact that you get these cards and you don't have really any decisions there, you get that one or two good hands to play. And what happens after that? Basically, when players have like 4 or 5 cards left, again, they probably have maybe one decent set. And so you're not going to waste your okay set. I'm not going to spend 3 cards that may score nothing anyways. And so I'm just going to play 1 card at a time. So what happens is the second part of each round kind of turns like war. Not like the war, but that game that people play in preschool in which everybody plays a card and you see who has the highest. Because ultimately that's what happens when everybody's playing a card. And again, I'm not going to... You have 3 cards. You have 4 cards. I have 3. And maybe I have an okay set somewhere in there. I'm not going to use 3 cards and lose it. I'm going to try 3 cards one at a time, which gives me maybe better chances of scoring something and add it to my pile. So what happens is the cards that you get, there's way too much randomness there to make it worth to do all of that as strategy. Because again, I did all of the amazing strategy and then you had a better hand. And then you beat me in that. I had that one awesome hand I play and you beat it, which is possible. Whoa, I spent 4 cards for that awesome hand, and the reward is 1 card, which doesn't do much. And you play maybe a couple of smaller hands, and you win those, and you get a lot more improvements. Again, I say that's part of the strategy. Don't overdo it with that super powerful thing. But then again, you have this mixed tone in which the game doesn't reward you for playing the most powerful cards. And that's just weird. So it's a game that I found not as interesting. Look, it's one of those things, if I played this game 20 years ago, let's say, whoa, it's like playing Catan in 1995. Whoa, I can trade resources, who cares if a lot of turns I'm sitting there doing nothing, because if I play other games, I'm sitting there and doing nothing a lot more. But playing Catan in 2022 is like, well, there's so many games in which I never had to waste a turn without nothing to do. If I had played this game in 2002, I would have been like, whoa, that's crazy. Because, yeah, there are turns where I don't do anything. The second half of the round is really irrelevant. But the first one is kind of fun. So much better than other games where the entire round is not fun. But by today's standards, we just have games that are more engaging, that do not have those drawbacks. They give you the theme, they give you the pressure for... evolution. We have games with this very topic. We have Dominant Species, the card game. We have a game with this degree of thematic immersion, with this element of multi-layer strategy, multiple effects, but with less luck, so actually you can use those effects. You can actually enjoy that strategy. And Darwinning to me doesn't do that quite that much. So Darwinning to me was kind of dart tying kind of a little bit like Dart losing. Definitely not a game for me, not one that I enjoy particularly. Again, mainly because of the strange contrast between all of these great strategic options that you don't really get to use all the time or even very often because the luck factor is so large.